when that happens, when you have two different bases, say one is a 5 and one is a 7, and you can't find a common base, you'll resort to using calculator, okay? So name this lesson, you could say solve exponential equations by graphing, or you could call it solve exponential equations using a calculator. First example right off the bat, we have 2 times parentheses 3 to the 2t minus 5 minus 4 equals 11. So let me explain why you can't solve this one by hand. I'll go back to this I will just use the same page. So let's just say you were trying to get the exponential by itself. The first thing you would do is add 4 to both sides, right? So you'd get 2 times 3 to the 2t minus 5 equals 15. What would you do next? Divide by 2. So you'd get 3 to the 2t minus 5 equals, what happened there? Okay. Equals 7.5. A decimal, right? Here's the problem. These do not share a common base. You can't write 7.5 as base 3, can you? So there's no way to really solve it by hand. Unless, of course, like I said, you knew some really detailed calculus, something called Newton's method, which coincidentally has to do with the tangent line, which is what we're learning in calc right now. But anyways, what we're going to do is use calculator to solve this. So instead of doing that, which you don't need to write on your notes, here's how you solve this using calculator. Get everything to one side of the equation. So I'm going to take the 11 that's on the right side of the equation and subtract it, move it to the left side of the equation. So you should have 0. Now you can move everything to the left or right, doesn't matter. Just make sure when you move it to one side of the equation, you end up with a 0. Okay? The next thing we're going to do is going to require your calculator. I recommend Desmos. You're going to see why in a second, because it's really easy to find X-Intercepts with Desmos. What we're going to do next is take this and graph it. Now, I don't know if it'll accept t. I think it does. I usually just use x, because I know that if you type in x into a graphing calculator, it knows what x is. So the next step, once you move everything to one side and you set it equal to 0, basically, is to graph it. So here is the graph of the side of the equation that I got by itself. So not the original equation, but when you set it equal to 0. So I'm graphing this. And again, I actually replaced the t with an x. And I'll show you how to type this in on the calculator. So we have y equals 2 times 3 to the 2x minus 5 minus 15. App is when you graph a function with this app, it actually puts a point where it crosses the x-axis, and if you just hover over or touch that point, it gives you the x value. Like he said, 3.4 whatever. 3 decimals I like. That's usually typical in math. You round to 3 decimals. So 3.417. And so all you have to do for the next step is just figure out the x-intercept. And like I said, this does it for you, 3.417. As soon as I get done with this example, I'll walk around and help you guys, making sure you're plugging in correctly. I know sometimes it gets frustrating. But that solves the equation for you, because if you were to plug the x value back into the original equation, it would solve the equation out. The equation would balance, basically. So the next step is just to write out whatever that answer is, round to 3 decimal places. And that's it for this example.